Okay. All right, again, today we're going to talk about funding opportunities, which is always a great topic to have on the agenda, particularly if there's some money behind it. And then our updates, and I think we have some updates. I see Sheila O'Malley. I'm sure she's going to be very happy to give us an update on the Ansonia today. So why don't we start with introductions? I'm Jack Walsh from the Derby Greenway, and I'm co-chair of the advisory committee. So Rich, you want to go next? I'm just looking at my screen.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rich Donovan. I am a new-ish transportation planner here at NVCOG.
Okay. About Christine?
Hi there. My name is Christine O'Neill. I am an environmental planner working with Aaron here at NVCOG and Rich, of course.
Okay. Judy?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Judy Mancini. I'm the representative for the city of Waterbury. I'm the advisor to Mayor Neil O'Leary.
You've got a lot going on too.
Yes, exciting.
Paul?
Yes, Paul Benevich, Watertown Town Engineer.
Okay, great. Susan?
Susan Peterson with Connecticut DEP and the Bureau of Water Protection and Land Reuse in the Watersheds Program.
Mayor Zekin in a mobile fashion?
Yes, I am. How you doing, guys? Good morning.
Mayor Zekin's from Derby, if you don't know. James?
I guess that's me, Jim Stewart, Naugatuck Public Works.
Okay. Whoever's in the conference room? Maybe no one's there right now. Sheila?
Hey, Jack. Mr. Chair.
I think we have a bad connection there, but Sheila is from Ansonia. Vince? Oh. Yeah, that's just not working, Sheila.
Long time no talk. Nice
There,
to be
that's
here.
better.
Whatever the mayor tells. Jack, can you hear me?
Now we
Sorry,
can.
guys. Can you hear me? Okay. Nice to see you, Jack. Sort of. I'm in my car. Nice to be here. I'm with the city of Ansonia, as Jack said, and I do whatever the mayor tells me to do.
Got a lot going on.
All right.
In Ansonia, though.
Yeah,
going on.
a lot going on. Absolutely.
Including the only lighthouse on the Greenway, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
Bill? Or William?
Sure.
Okay. William, you still there? All right, we'll move on. Stacy?
Yes, I'm Stacy Sefchuk from the town of Thomaston.
Right. Mark?
Good morning, Mark Ramo from the town of Watertown, town manager.
Great, thank you. All right, let's start with the funding opportunities. Some good news here. And we've got the Connecticut Deep Recreational Trails. Susan, do you want to do that, or Aaron, you're going to do it? Who's going to handle that?
Yeah, I can talk about it. So after 3 years of waiting, there's a new round of $3 million for recreational trails. They just posted the RFP, I think it was the beginning of last week or the end of the week before, with a deadline of November 1st. So these are primarily planning sort of projects, especially on a multi-use trail like the Naugatuck River Greenway. If you look back at the last round of funding, it seems like about $300,000 is the sort of the upper limit of grant size. We've used them in the past for to plan or to design sections of Greenway. So yeah, I mean we've talked to a couple of our communities already. Two of which are looking at possible design for Greenway sections. And we just finished up our priorities document, which is part of the reason why we did that document was for when funding opportunities came up to help us prioritize what is most important and what we would be looking to support in grant applications. So we could open it up to the floor if anybody has some ideas about projects, if you want to talk about projects in your communities, I think that would be great.
All right, does
Yeah.
anyone have one going on? Sheila?
Jack, yeah, I mean, I will just tell you that I have spoken to First Select Woman Anne Marie Dragonis in Seymour, and there's a willingness to coordinate on our, on a design that would connect both communities. So I think we'd be interested in, if everyone thinks that's a good idea, I think we would be interested in some design funds.
Anytime we can get an interconnect, that's good news. So,
Thank you.
anyone else? Okay. Susan, is there anything you want to add to that?
That's really handled in another part of the agency, Jack, under Lori
Oh, okay.
Giannotti on the environmental conservation side. So I've just been following through the news like you folks and learning from Aaron's postings as well. So I'm afraid I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, and it's always helpful when Aaron does get those out there, everyone, whether you take advantage or not, just to be aware of what's out there for your own planning going forward. So, all right. If there are no others, let's move on to the American Rescue Plan, which I think does affect every community in some way. Aaron, you handling that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say about the rec trails. What we've done in the past is put together a list of applications of our member communities and meet to review them and either endorse them or decide to write a support letter. So if we're going to do that, then the deadline is before our next regularly scheduled meeting. So we might have to hold a special meeting to do that. So just something to keep in mind, and we can decide that offline, but we would we'd have to meet before.
I know you're trying, Sheila. Again, and we have written those letters of support. I don't know how much value there is, but it certainly can't hurt to have this group endorsing whatever project you're moving forward. So please keep Aaron informed if you do decide to go forward, and then we'll act appropriately.
Right, and COG staff is here to help, put together a narrative, or we have a lot of information about the overall trail that would be useful in an application. So, please let us know early if you're planning on submitting something.
Okay, great. All right, let's move on now to the American Rescue Plan.
So I guess I'll cover this as well. I think Brista was going to originally talk about this. So, all of your communities are getting money from the American Rescue Plan Act. Some of them are getting, large sums of money, especially the cities. And, we've been looking into what you can actually use those funds for. And it seems we're pretty confident that you can use them for design and construction of trails or parks or, open space amenities, outdoor recreation infrastructure. The final guidance is not out yet, so we don't know for sure. But if your community prioritizes this type of development, should really look into funding parts of your trail potentially with this funding if your communities support that. That's really up to each individual community. In the rest of the country, a lot half of the money was distributed to counties. Since Connecticut doesn't have counties, it's all going directly to the municipalities. So we can't really plan any regional programs or projects, but we do have this framework put together for the entire Naugatuck River Greenway. So if communities wanted to look at that together, that would be a good idea. And also for the state was also allocated funding, and the state put together a plan on how they're going to distribute those funds to municipalities. And they just announced, I think it was last week or the week before, the Connecticut Communities Challenge program. And this certainly can be used for trails. They list some of the target projects like mobility improvements that increase connectivity to transit, including pedestrian and bicycle improvements, public space improvements that provide amenities to the community, including open spaces and public art projects. So, you know, really sort of definitely in the trail realm. And these projects would be like between $1 and $10 million each. You know, targeting distressed municipalities, but you know, we should definitely look at this a little bit more in depth. You know, sort of just the initial brush strokes have been released, but they're expecting to look for projects in the fall. So, you know, we'll have more detail about the program by then. There's a link to all the information I could find in the agenda if you want to look at it yourselves.
Yeah, that would be helpful because we do have distressed communities along the Greenway, Ansonia and Derby, and I don't know, there's Waterbury one as well. I don't know if there are any others, but yeah, we definitely need to look at that.
Naugatuck, there's 4 or 5 of them.
Okay. Yeah, definitely want to take advantage of that. What's the deadline on this one? You know,
so they just said that they were going to. I think there's going to be an announcement in the fall. So it'll probably be in the spring when the deadline would be.
Okay, so there's no actual application out there right now. It's just informational at this point, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
I think they're coming out with applications. They're coming out with applications in the fall.
Right.
Aaron, is what I understood.
And Sheila, are you planning to apply?
Listen, we're going to apply for anything and everything.
Yeah,
And when you talk about distressed, we're the #1 distressed community in the state.
we're right behind you.
Yeah, we've got all the problems of a big city crammed into a little city.
Yep.
But yes, yeah,
Hey,
we are
Jack,
planning on applying.
Rich?
Jack, Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
Hey, sorry I got kicked off there, but you were asking for projects and stuff like that. I know that we did half of our Greenway with the new fencing and stuff like that. Would this be qualified for do the other half of our fencing? Because I know they're going on 20 years.
I think for rec trails possibly.
Yeah.
I haven't seen, you know, there's really no details about this Connecticut Communities Challenge out yet, but
So it was only like about 100,000, but I mean, not only, but it's relatively cheap compared to what, you know, building a whole new one. But like I said, we have the #1 use Greenway in the state. So, you know, we should be accommodated for that a little bit, I think. And, but if hopefully we can get the fencing in. I know they're a little wear and tear there, but that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Yeah, and Rich, I did forward the application on to Andrew already, so hopefully you get that new staff person to help with grants, because I think the challenge for Derby is have someone write the grants. That's the hard part. So.
Absolutely.
And Mark Nielsen just hopped on. I don't know if Mark, if you wanted to say anything about the potential to use ARPA for trails.
Have you talked about it at all, or you're just starting?
Just a little bit.
Okay. As you know, ARPA is the American Recovery something Act, whatever. But it's basically the money that's been allocated from the feds for recovery from COVID. And the money appears to be very, very flexible. And the towns have an opportunity to really decide how best to use the money. If it can show that it has a relationship to economic recovery or resiliency, recovering from problems or issues caused by the pandemic. And one of the things or interesting things that has come up is the possibility of using the ARPA money for trails and recreation type of projects. The rationale was when everybody was in lockdown, use of trails and use of recreation areas actually increased substantially because people couldn't go anywhere else, and this was an outdoor activity. And so it's sort of, could be seen as a good resiliency type project. If you have more trails, more parks and recreation areas, if this happens again, it does allow people a place where they can get outside and still have some socialization, where they can't be indoors. So it's a possibility. So the towns can sort of look at, there may be a lot of other uses and needs, so it's going to be competing with all the others, but it's a possibility that, if there's a project, trail trot project that the town would really like to do, and it's, getting close to ready to go, they may be able to use the ARPA money. Got to sort of use the right terms in the sort of the justification, economic resiliency, recovery, health and welfare types of things. And, we've demonstrated a lot of those positives of trails, that it does help, everybody's health. It provides a good, safe environment for people to, socialize in a way that, is not, enclosed and everything. So, but, the municipalities have received, the ARPA money. The state also has, but the town's portion could be used possibly for trail type projects. It may not be sort of, you have to sort of justify it. So it's not just a given that, it would be approved, but it looks like the program is flexible enough that you could do it. Now, the other, of course, the downside in all this is the timeline. ARPA money has to be obligated by December 31st, 2024, and then expended, 2 years later. So even though that sounds like, oh, that's almost 3 years out, things go by very quickly. So you'd have to be able to plan, design, and get approvals for construction, by the end of 2024, and then start construction and have a 2-year construction season. So, but it's just a thought. And again, as we've sort of, the theme right now from the federal level is, helping municipalities that are distressed and have areas that have been underserved or under, funds have been under allocated to. So again, Waterbury could be a good example. Ansonia is a good candidate. Derby is a good candidate where, they're distressed communities and you say, well, no, this is a good use for these funds for these reasons to help, our, reach out to people who have been underserved in the past. So we're going to keep looking into this. And again, as always, we'll keep everybody posted as we find out more information about, eligibility. But again, it's I don't know how much money. I was going to look that up before this meeting. I just didn't get a chance, but I wasn't sure how much money, each town in our region has received from ARPA, but it's something to consider.
And also, for those communities, we do have good data to back up
Right, yeah.
the applications. We've got the Connecticut census data, and we also had that economic study that we did a couple of years ago. So there is data to help support those applications.
Especially the pre and post conditions. Like we have the counts from before lockdown and then during it, so you can really see what kinds of spikes we had in the uses of on the trail. So yeah, we have a lot of data and we have a lot of the backup information. So like I said, it's going to be incumbent upon you all to work with your mayors and first selectmen on getting them to agree that, oh yeah, that would be a good use of ARPA money, because again, like I said, there's a lot of need out there. So it always sounds like a lot of money until you actually start allocating, and then you find, oh, we're real short. We could use it in a lot of different areas. So but that's going to be your the committee's efforts with each of their individual towns to work with the decision makers and try to make the case.
Looks
And
like
it's nice that
Susan
we've got-
Peterson has her hand raised. Did you want to speak, Susan?
Thanks, Christine. I just had a question. So I realize you're not clear on all the details yet, so you may not know the answer, but on the second piece, the Connecticut Community Challenge, is that just going to be open to the municipalities, or can like nonprofits apply to that too? Or do you know that information yet?
The fact sheet that they sent out said it was for municipalities or regional consortia with the possibility of private or not for profit partnerships. So I would assume that means the COG could potentially apply it as well.
Vincent, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. And maybe we're going to get into this on the agenda, but back in June, Naugatuck was contacted for a potential grant. I think it was called Congressional District Spending or something like that from Senator
Correct, yeah.
Murphy's office. I was just kind of curious if that application went anywhere. We were certainly pretty excited about the opportunity to
Yeah,
get our segment going.
yeah, we sent in that proposal as a congressionally directed spending project. In my conversations with Senator Murphy's office, they liked the project. They thought it was a good candidate to be funded. And I believe, I haven't heard since, but they were going to submit it as a project. So you know how Congress works. It can take some time for them to actually make the decision, but it is in the works, and had received some good positive feedback. So fingers crossed, it could go forward. We'll see. We'll let you know if we hear anything.
Mark, I have one other question. Is there any money in the infrastructure bill that was passed for our type of work?
Yeah, that's sort of been, again, a bill that has a ton of money, but unfortunately trails and greenways weren't specifically included in the programs. So, I mean, you could use some of it, because it under the highway portions, anything that's eligible under the federal aid highway system is eligible under the infrastructure program. And obviously trails are, eligible. So again, it's the competition. So there were some groups that were trying to get specific dollars allocated to these types of projects, and that wasn't included in the Senate version of the bill. Just another comment on that. The Senate passed it, but now it has to go to the House for their, consideration. And it could be literally another 6 months before the House, adopts something or passes something similar. And if the two bills are significantly different, then there's, conferences to get together to reconcile any of the differences. So the Senate made a big splash about, oh, we passed this, but it still could be 6 months before, monies are being allocated. And I'm not sure how they're going to be allocating the funds and who's going to be eligible. I haven't looked that deeply into it, whether it's going to, most of the new money that they're talking about is going to be competitive type grants. So it's not like they're sub-allocating directly to the states. And so it's not clear who's going to be eligible to apply. It's likely it's going to be, municipalities could apply, the state can apply, MPOs can apply, because that's sort of how they have done it in the past. But until we get the details, we're not sure. But my concern is that the state's going to want to really use the money for what they want to use it for. So, that's where we need to be ready to make our own recommendations.
All right, so more information to follow after the bill gets passed, if it gets passed. So.
Yeah. Well, again, I think what we do here, we're trying to identify our priorities, as we go, so that when the funding is available, we don't have to scramble and figure out, oh, what's the best project to apply for. We'll have a good idea. We'll have done a lot of that planning already. Aaron, when you put together the priorities list and the committee approved, and that's why we do that. That way we have a good idea of what it is we think is the project we should start with first, second, third, and fourth. And so we can be doing that planning. So when the money is available, we can, we can get started. We don't have to wait, 6, 7, 8 months to figure out what we want to do.
Again, that's one of the values of participating in this
Yeah.
project, that you're always aware. And, we can push the things that are most needed along the Naugatuck River.
Well, yeah, and that's what we did with the Naugatuck project with that congressionally directed spending. We got, I think we got notified on a Thursday that they were looking for some projects, but they wanted them in by Monday morning. So we didn't have a whole lot of time to put the thing together. But because we already knew Naugatuck was real proactive in trying to get funding for a couple of their sections, it became a logical choice to use that one, because we had much of the application already written, and again, it was a good project and pretty well defined. So again, it's being prepared is really what we're trying to do.
Jim, you have a question, comment? Jim Stewart?
No, I just put my thumbs up that I like what he's saying.
Okay, good.
Using my
Thanks, Jim.
reaction.
Okay,
You like that better?
there you go. All right, any last comments about funding? All right, let's move on to a fun type project, Connecticut Trail Finder.
So yeah, this is exciting. So last meeting 3 months ago, Kim Bradley, who is the Connecticut Trails Finder and Connecticut Trail Census Coordinator, presented the new Connecticut Trail Finder. It wasn't even live at that point. So this website is intended to be sort of a authoritative place to go get information about trails if you're looking to get out for whatever reason on a trail. So since then, we've worked, the COG staff has worked with several of you to get sections of the Naugatuck River Greenway up and live on the website. And as of yesterday, we have a few sections live, and let me see if I can switch my screen here. Okay, can you all see the Connecticut Trail Finder?
Yeah.
So that's the main page. If you click on Find Trails, we could zoom in here to the lower valley, and we have the Derby Greenway Trail and the Ansonia River Walk up and live. So if you click, you'll get a bunch of information. What's acceptable on the trail, the length, difficulty, a description about the trail, who the trail manager is. We also made sure to include the Naugatuck River Greenway. So, even though this is the Ansonia River Walk, it's part of the Naugatuck River Greenway. And eventually, once we have all of the Greenway sections up, there'll be a separate post that includes a list of all of the open sections of Naugatuck River Greenway. And then if you click on the trail map, and this is sort of what Sheila will be talking about later is they now have a loop right in their downtown. You can find the trailheads, points of interest, parking areas. The cool thing about the parking is if you go click on directions, you can click on a parking area and get brought to Google Maps, and it'll bring you right to the parking lot. So a lot of neat stuff here. Users can sign up for an account and log in. They can post photos of your trail. They can post comments, and trail managers will be able to look at those and either accept or deny them, or have some control over the content that goes up there as well. So I think this is great. We are working, so right now we have we have Derby, Ansonia, and Watertown up live. I'm waiting on to hear back from Seymour and Naugatuck. And I did talk to Rista about getting Torrington's up there as well. So we have all the GIS data already. We have a lot of the information. We just need some details from you guys to get stuff posted. And, we'd like to keep this all up to date, and, we can help you do that as well. So that's all, ConnecticutTrailFinder.com. I suggest all of you go and check it out. They're adding, probably about 10 trails a week. So it's really starting to get pretty robust in what they offer.
And I want to thank Aaron and the staff. They've been a pleasure to work with to get our stuff up. So kudos to everybody at the COG for their efforts on this. Susan, you have a comment?
Yeah, well, first of all, this is amazing. I mean, I heard about it sort of at the beginning, and then I disappeared for a while to go do my other stuff. So this is amazing. So congrats. A question about the pet. It's great that they tell people whether they can bring pets or not. I was just curious, is there other information on the website to kind of either encourage people to pick up after their pets, or if there's waste disposal boxes along the trail? Some places offer bags and waste disposal stations. One of those things you want to encourage, or is that not appropriate?
Yeah, it's actually not a bad idea. I worked with Connecticut Trail Finder early on when they were setting up the website and deciding what points of interest could or should be. And that one actually never came up, but that's a really good idea, is to, pinpoint where those bags are. But yeah, we could, that's a good idea, Susan. I'll talk to them about that.
Yeah, and to follow up with that too, Aaron, I think that is a good idea to have a section that talks about sort of rules and regulations for using, individual trails, because again, we're talking about statewide, and different trails are going to have different rules, but something, it probably would be good, if you talk to people who are putting this together, that they should have a section on, rules and regulations, and
so
sort of proper behavior too. It's like being courteous, and who yields to who, and things like that.
Right. They do have a whole section about trail etiquette.
Okay.
And you can put as much or as little information in this description, and you can add additional, you can add a rules and regulations section if you wanted to. And that's not a bad idea, especially on a longer multi-use trail where each section might have different rules. Like, dogs are not allowed in Derby, but they are in Ansonia.
Yeah, and I just realized, Aaron, I'm looking at the Derby site. It says pets are permitted on leash.
Does it?
That needs to be corrected as soon as possible.
That was a mistake. I will take care of that.
I've had problems with that. We've had major problems with that. So if you can get that one corrected quickly, please do so. But otherwise, it looks great, and I would urge everyone to make sure their information.
And Aaron, one other question I would have is, what about equestrian use? Are they going to be included in this Trail Finder as well?
They are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the Oxford Trail is equestrian. All right, any other questions on the Trail Finder?
Hey, Aaron, just so you know, we love dogs in Naugatuck, so.
We love dogs in Derby too, but we have a park for them. The trail's for the humans, so. All right, let's move on. Rich, I think you're up with the Active Transportation Plan.
Great. Yes. So hopefully just as exciting. We're happy to announce that we are getting started on an active transportation plan to cover the region. We're still very early in this, but we wanted to start sharing and ask for input early on, and hopefully get input all throughout. So Aaron, if you don't mind moving on to the next one.
Is your, can you guys all see?
Yeah, it's there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to the next.
Oh, you can skip this one. I'm sorry. That was out of a broader deck, but I assume most of you know what the region is like. So just a couple of, just to share a little bit of information as we go to get started. We will be putting together an advisory committee for this project as well, and would love to get any input from any or all of you, if you'd like to be part of it, if you'd like to participate, or if you have suggestions for who else may be a good person to contact for it. But just real early on, some of the initial goals really focused on improving mobility and access, as well as improving safety for anybody trying to move around the region not in a car. And so we'll be looking at putting together some projects and opportunities across all 19 towns, as well as making sure we focus on the assets that we already do have here in the region. And if you can go to the next one. So like I said, we're going to really focus on safety. Pedestrian and cyclist accidents have been increasing over the past, well, long time, but especially in the past 2 years. And we know that is something that we can do a lot to avoid. And we know that it is one of the biggest hindrances to getting people out of their cars and onto our sidewalks and onto our bike lanes. And so we really want to focus on safety. We'll be looking at, every possible way to do that, but we'll really be focusing on the engineering of, when we build new projects, when we build active transportation projects, specifically focusing on complete streets, focusing on the engineering way to separate cars, bicyclists, and pedestrians, to make sure everybody is able to travel safely. And one more. And then really important, for this group is we'll be focusing on connections. We already have some really great resources here in the region, and and the expansion of the Naugatuck River Greenway and the Farmington Canal through Cheshire will only continue to add to that. And so we want to make sure that not only is that a great recreational use, but it can be a good way to connect especially a lot of our historic downtowns down in the valley. But that when after you spend some time on the trail, you have a lot of other places you can go without having to go back to your car to really enjoy what we have to offer here.
Great.
And so, just a couple of the next steps from where we are right now. Like I said, we'll be putting together a project advisory committee, and we're hoping to have a first meeting of that group sometime in early to mid-October. We will be getting the Transportation Technical Advisory Committee together on this, and we'll start discussing with all the municipalities through that group. And then we're going to be focusing on, like I said, we want to do a really robust public engagement strategy on this. We want this to be as collaborative as possible with, both the stakeholders here in the region and those who would use it from outside. And so we'll be focusing on that plan in the next couple of months. But really the goal is going to be to get people into our communities, get them out of their car while they do it, to see what we have already, see and help to experience those problems and identify the solutions for them. And then really we want to make sure too that we're capturing the people who are using these systems currently. So some informal conversations with people who are out walking and cycling now, some transit users, any group who's already been taking advantage of what's there and would have some real live feedback on what can be better. And so if you don't mind going to the last slide. Yeah. So this is my contact information. I asked Aaron to make sure that he posts the slides from this onto the event page on the NVCOG website. So if you have any thoughts after this meeting is over and you want to get in touch, or you want to share, if you have anybody that you think I should get in touch with, or are interested in being involved yourself, I would love to hear from you. So definitely let us know. But I think I tried to keep this short, so we have just a couple of minutes for any comments or questions or anything on it.
Well, it's obviously a good fit with the work that this committee is doing. So any other comments?
Yeah.
Jack, I just want to mention the follow-up. We were hoping that somebody from the NRG steering committee would be willing to serve on this bike active transportation advisory committee as well. It might be a good opportunity. So if somebody would like to serve, we'd appreciate it. One thought I had too is we may contact Rista to see if she'd be interested in serving as that rep. Only because even though she actually is outside of our region, it might be good to have somebody who's connected to an adjacent region, so they can also be sort of brought into the planning process. So, but we would like to see somebody from the steering committee participate.
Anyone else? Okay, well, again, keep us posted. This is a good fit for the work that we're doing in all our communities, so.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have lots to share in the near future.
All right, and, talking about transportation plan, next up on the agenda is brief overview by Aaron of Oxford. If you haven't been through Oxford in the last couple of years, you'll be shocked because it's a new world. So Aaron, you want to take over?
Sure, and I apologize, you have to listen to me talk so much this meeting. Our
It's okay.
our consultant on this project is on vacation this week, so I'll just go through a few of his slides. So we did give an update last meeting. We're sort of wrapping up the recommendations for this study. So just a little background, Route 67 is really sort of Oxford's main street. It's a state route, but there's no bike or pedestrian facilities at all along the entire stretch. So, a few years ago, when they were doing their plan of conservation development, the town really prioritized changing that and making Route 67 more friendly to pedestrians and cyclists. And they started this Oxford Main Street Project Committee that sort of started looking at improvements along Route 67. And one of them is right across the street from Town Hall. They're planning a nature preserve with access from Route 67 and the Town Hall. And they looked at some other sort of smaller projects along Route 67, but what was really missing was sort of an overarching plan that would connect all of those pieces, bring in, all the stakeholders to weigh in on it, including DOT, since it is a state route. So the COG worked with them to put together a scope, and we found some funding in some of our carryover funds to fund a project to really do that and create sort of a master plan for Route 67 to really look at improving not only bicyclists and pedestrians use of the road, but also look at transit and how we can get some transportation options other than a single passenger or private motor vehicle along the corridor. So, I'm just going to go through quickly some of the recommendations and some of the things in the report and in the study that might be transferable to some of your communities. So, for instance, our consultant put together these sort of typical sections with linear foot costs of what would it cost to build this type of trail along Route 67. So this is a normal section. They also looked at there's some areas of Route 67 where lighting might be welcome. So they looked at it with and without lighting. So these could certainly be used in some of your towns when you're thinking about looking at sort of higher sort of just cost estimates for projects. They looked at what it would look like in a developed area, pretty much the same price, $690,000 a mile. Where there's steep slopes, the cost goes up a little bit. Where the costs really go up is there's a few sections where they would need a retaining wall to be able to fill in enough area to get a trail in next to the roadway. Luckily, there's not much of that along Route 67 because that price tag is a little shocking.
Wow.
And then rock cuts are actually not as expensive as I would have guessed, but so all this is in the report, might be useful. What our consultant did was sort of evaluate, so they put together all of the potential routes, on both sides of Route 67 and along Little River, which parallels the road, and came up with a evaluation criteria to sort of look at what makes the most sense. When there's two different competing routes, which one would be better suited for the town. So in this case, they looked at these two options along Route 67, and even though the one on the top was made better connections to destinations and cost less, there were some right-of-way issues, there wasn't as much scenic or recreational value as on the other side of the road. And sort of the big, almost fatal flaw that we had to deal with throughout this whole study was crossing Route 67. So, DOT and, any user is not going to want somebody crossing Route 67 at an unsignalized intersection. So, we really weighed that a lot more heavily than anything else. So we really tried to keep the trail on one side of the road, which ended up being on the west side, which is on the to the bottom of the page on this map, to really avoid those safety concerns. So the result is really a trail mostly on that west side of the road, crossing where there's a signalized crossing available. And they broke up the corridor into 3 sections. And each section was broken down further into sort of fundable projects. So in this example, I won't go through the whole route, but for the central segment here, they looked at 3 projects. One is actually ongoing, where Oxford has a community connectivity grant to do a side path along Route 67 out in front of Town Hall. And then they looked at 2 other projects that would get the trail all the way down to Quarry Walk, which is a new multi-purpose development. So each one of those projects, they assigned a cost estimate to help the town look at future funding opportunities. Also gave them some nice renderings of what the trail could look like. And then they also looked at transit. They ran a transit demand model that showed that there probably is not enough demand there to be able to support a fixed route transit. So the ultimate recommendation after talking to the town and Valley Transit was that Oxford should look into joining the Valley Transit District to make dial-a-ride services available to the community. So we've posted the final report on the website. The comment period's open for a few more days. So if any of you, especially in towns bordering Oxford, if you'd like to take a look and comment, those would definitely be welcome. We're going to incorporate the revisions that are recommended, and then the report will be put in front of the Board of Selectmen for endorsement and finalized. So you can go to our website, nvcogct.gov/Oxford Route 67 to find all of this information. And yeah, please take a look and let us know what you think.
Right.
I can answer any questions if anybody has any questions.
Any questions? Oxford is changing dramatically. Quarry Walk, some describe it as the new downtown in Oxford. So a lot to see there. All right, let's move on. See what's going on in the other communities. Let's start. We'll follow the agenda in Waterbury. Judy.
Good morning, everybody. Here's something I've been waiting to say for a long time. The notice to proceed for Waterbury's Greenway Phase 1 was issued on July the 29th. The project was awarded to date in construction. Currently, they're in the process of doing survey work and working on invasive species, and they hope to have actual shovels in the ground in September. Substantial completion for the project is scheduled to be July 28th, 2022, and final completion September 11th, 2022. So we're started. I'm thrilled to report that we're started. So I'm happy to tell you all that.
Fantastic. How long is that stretch?
About 2 miles.
2 miles. Fantastic. Good news.
Yep.
And where is it, Judy? What does it cover? I'm sorry.
It's going to be from, it's about 2 mile route. It goes from Platts Mills up South Main Street to Eagle Street. So there'll be a park on the corner of Platts Mills and South Main, and the rest will be, some of it will be right on the river behind some buildings. So it's going to be a nice little mix of items on the Greenway. So we're very, very excited about it. So
I think we're all excited to hear that good news.
yeah.
Great.
Hey, Judy, can I ask you a question about the Platts Mills section? Are they gonna just do a painting for directions of pedestrians and bicyclists and nothing to separate them from cars?
Right now, I think that's what's in the plan, but Kevin, I'll get back to you on the particulars of that. There's been so many iterations of that, but I will get back to you after the meeting and we can have a conversation. I'll get you all the details that you need.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's move on. Ansonia's got a lot going on. And I think you can see some pictures. So Sheila, you want to pick up on that?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yep. So as Aaron said, we've now completed a loop in Ansonia. This is about 2,500 linear feet of trail. They've put the first coat of pavement down. I guess, you know, I would say to you guys, they are, we're running behind because our rest stops and our railings have been back ordered. So we're just waiting on some of the amenities to complete this segment, but they're having, our contractor Schultz is having difficulty ordering supply, you know, ordering the supplies and getting what they need. So that's been a little bit of a challenge, but hopefully within the next month, it'll be finished and wrapped up. The lighthouse, gotten a lot of comments on the lighthouse. Just want to point out it's going to be decorative, and it has to be near on the observation deck that we've created. So it is going to be decorative, but it will be quite large. Just can't go inside it and look out on the ocean here in the valley.
We don't have a lot of river traffic at that point anyway, Sheila.
I know, but it's getting a lot of, we're getting a lot of feedback, positive feedback on it. So you will see a lighthouse, believe it or not.
And Sheila, that section is how long?
20, it's approximately 2,500 linear feet.
Right. All right, you want to pick up on the routing study too that you're doing?
Yep, and our we do have a routing study that we've commenced, which will take us down along the Olson Drive path and down Riverside Drive, which hopefully will parallel what the mayor would like to do and like to open up that road out to Route 8. And we want the path to follow alongside. It runs along Ansonia, Copper and Brass and will connect to Seymour, the next phase of it.
That would be fantastic. Really
Yeah. We're excited about that.
Is there a timeline on the study?
We should be done in about 3 months with the study.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
And if I may, I just want to follow up with that. The city did ask us to submit an application to CTDOT on a planning corridor study in that same area and looking at the possibility of planning that extension of Riverside Avenue up to Route 8 and sort of relocating the state, was it 334 over to this new, to provide a much better connection to the downtown from Route 8. Hopefully, my guess is we'll probably get a response from DOT sometime in November on that planning study. But again, that's, the trail is going to be part of that. So, what Sheila just talked about with the routing study is just more of a planning study. This could actually provide a lot more, detail in terms of what it would look like and how it would sort of be, designed. So, yeah, a lot of activity going on in that corridor. So hopefully, by, in a couple of months, we'll have a better idea of,
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Mark. And thanks, Aaron, for all the work you put in on the link. Really want to echo what Jack had said. Thank you.
Sheila, can I ask you a question? Is that routing study that goes right up to Kinneytown? Below on the on the east side of Route 8.
Yes.
There's surveyor markers there now. That's from the study?
Yes, I mean, hard to, I think so, because we've got a lot of work going on, so it could be for something else, but that I think our engineers were out there and did do some survey work, so that's probably what you're seeing.
Yeah, it's very remote. That's why I was curious.
Yeah,
to see that.
yes, it is. Yeah.
Very good. Now, we have a couple of people from Watertown on, Watertown, Thomaston, who's going to give us?
Yeah,
that?
I'll take that, Jack. Paul,
Paul.
town engineer. Yeah, hello, everybody. Since the last meeting in May, we had a site walk with DOT, both their highway division and rails representatives back in June, and Aaron and Mark were there. They can chime in at any time, but we didn't get as far as we could. I've never seen knotweed on a trail that we could just drive. When I first started surveying in spring of 2020, and by the summer was just brushing the sides of the truck as we drove through. It was literally, you had to hack our way over the trail. I've never seen anything like this. So we didn't get as far as we would have liked to up the trail, but you know, I know we got maybe 1,000 feet or so before they didn't even want to get anywhere near anything with ticks in it, which I certainly encountered enough on this walk. But one positive thing that the rail people said, that originally in the study, we were going to need a barrier fence all the way from Frostbridge Road up to where the railroad crosses back to the east side of the Naugatuck River, and it's not an issue with the trail. They said if there's any kind of, we have a fair amount of vegetative trees and brush in the way, that could save a lot of the fencing, hopefully, upwards of, I don't know, maybe $100,000 cost for that. That would be a good thing. That's something we got a positive response out of that. Aaron, do you want to say anything about that walk that you remember, or?
Yeah, there were ticks and a lot of knotweed.
Right. Yeah. I was still pulling them off a couple hours later. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think, I think nobody, we had the Waterbury Water Department out there too, because one of the big concerns is the water line.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, indicated that there was a fatal flaw anywhere. I think it's just a matter of, really thinking through all of the potential obstacles and coming up with ideas to overcome them before DOT is going to fund it. So, we're working with Paul and the town to put that together. And we're also looking at, the potential for a rec trails grant to fund the design, or, parts of that design that the town can't take on themselves. So, I think there's going to be movement on that. I know it's taking a long time, but, there's a lot of funding sort of tied into the ability to do that section. So, I think we'll get it done.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about, Rob Langenauer, the Waterbury water superintendent, was there. He's very positive about this routing on this side where the cast iron main is. He's much less worried about that than this reinforced cylinder he has further down Thomason Avenue that's had multiple breaks in the past. And he's much less concerned with this main. And based on the test pit, the information we got, I'm fairly confident we could get the layout with a minimum of fill required to cover the water main. So instead of like 10,000 cubic yards, I'm thinking like less than 1,000. Certainly quite a cost saving there also. So.
And the real key is if we can allay the concerns the DOT has about the water main, that give them confidence to sort of commit to the funding of the Watertown section. And once they do that, it will free up because we have a application in for lot SIP for the Thomason section and a new bridge crossing up Branch Brook. And that's been not approved because DOT doesn't want to approve that project without also approving the Watertown. So
that's correct.
Once we get movement on Watertown section, it should free up the delay on the Thomaston, and that design is essentially complete, and the town can move ahead and actually build that. It's a short section, but the key is the new bridge over Branch Brook.
Anyone want to be overly optimistic and predict when construction would begin on these projects?
No.
Overly optimistic, yeah.
Well, that's why I use the term overly optimistic. Yeah.
I can be real pessimistic if you'd like, Jack.
No. You want this meeting to be all positive, all good news today.
Well,
so.
and again, we talked to the town yesterday, and if we can get, the first step is sort of putting together a plan to protect the water main, and assure, once we can assure DOT that this project in Watertown could be built without damaging the water main in any way, they will authorize funding for the Thompson section. And if we can do that, Thompson section can go almost, pretty quickly. If I want to be overly optimistic, I'm guessing probably the spring. Again, I can't see it starting. We
No,
could.
not this year, no.
I mean, we could see some, sort of clearing and stuff like that in early fall, possibly. But, to be, realistic, I think it's more likely spring of 22. If we can if we want to really be optimistic, yeah, we might be able to, get some movement this fall.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, moving on. I've got some good news. Actually, long delayed good news. It hasn't been officially announced, but Derby and DOT have finally signed off on the Derby Main Street project. This is about 20 years.
Oh my God.
But both have signed off, and I believe it will go out to bid in the next 2 months.
Yeah, the hope is design completion is August 24th. Obligation of funds should follow 2 weeks after that, and then advertisement will follow right after that in about a month. So we're looking at advertising first week in October, maybe.
Just so for the city of Derby, that's fantastic, and the Greenway runs along it, and there are connections, et cetera. So just after all these years, and delay after delay after delay, at points it almost seemed as though this would never happen. But now we can tell people it is going to happen. So
right,
great news.
And then Derby Shelton Bridge is that's construction should start soon. They're just I haven't been out there, but I believe they're still sort of staging and getting utility work is the one that's really holding that up, because there's some complicated utilities on the bridge that have to be done before they can start doing the construction. So probably won't see real movement on construction until again spring. But Main Street's the same thing. They may start construction on that in the spring as well. But again, utilities are a big deal up there.
Yeah, they've been out there regularly. I see them every day out there. They've done some repair of the concrete on the bridge and a lot of utility work. So that's really great news for the city of Derby. Economic development really in the downtown can't happen until that gets done. So
right,
good stuff going on there. So anyone else want to add any other project updates? We're gradually filling in that map, Aaron. It's getting there. It's getting there.
It's so exciting to see new pavement being put down. So
absolutely
forward progress.
All right, other business. Aaron, is it going to be you or Kevin to talk about the Kennytown Dam?
Yeah, so Kevin can chime in. Kevin did a ton of work this past fish passage season, documenting the flows at the dam. I helped him one day, and I know he's been out there many other times, photographing fish and trying to get video underwater of what types of fish are below the dam and are unable to pass. I think the takeaway is this past season has been a total failure of fish passage at Kennytown. The owner didn't do any of the stuff that they had sort of been ordered by FERC to do to improve passage this season. So it's going on a decade now almost of very little or no fish passage at the dam. Kevin, I don't know if you want to talk at all about it. I think Kevin's frozen.
Yeah, it looks like it's frozen.
So they FERC opened up a new docket to look at fish passage actually. So, we're hoping that FERC is going to take action. Fish and Wildlife was out earlier this summer and were unable to actually get all the measurements they needed to complete their engineering study of the dam and the fish passage. So we're expecting an interim report until they can get all those measurements taken, and that report will inform FERC about what actions FERC can take in the future. And our organization and the coalition, we're looking at ways we can sort of highlight the failures and really see a resolution sooner rather than later.
Sounds good. It's been a lot of work to get to this point, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I've updated. We have a story map that's up on our website. If you search for Kinneytown Dam, you'll find it pretty easily. And I've put all of the documents that are associated with the FERC docket and a lot of other information in there as well. And I've been keeping it updated too. So if you want to follow along about with what's happening there, that's probably your best bet to do that.
It's an interesting issue to follow. It's almost like a mystery at the same time with the ownership. So,
yep.
Good luck.
Thanks.
All right. Any other business to come before the meeting? And you see the link to Kinneytown Dam. Christine just put it up in the chat. So, all right, if there's nothing else, our next meeting is November 10th, even though, as Aaron pointed out, if we have to have a special meeting for any letters, et cetera, we'll do that accordingly. But, this is a very positive meeting today. Lots of good news today. Lots of good news. And, it's funny when you start a project like this and you talk about a connection, you're talking about going all the way from Derby to Torrington. And you imagine how long that takes to get done. But I want to tell you, from my involvement in Derby, when this started, this is going to be a greenway that went from Long Island Sound up to Housatonic River to Massachusetts. And that project, for all intents and purposes, as far as I can see, is dead. Okay, I haven't seen anything happen in that in years. And we started way behind that. And look at that map and all the good news you had today. So it just shows, if we can get everybody together and working together, we can make progress. With all this federal funding, now is the time to really make sure we have all our plans in order. So would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll see everybody on November 10th.
Bye,
Thank you.
Jack.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Take care.
Great,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye.